On November 11, the Supreme Court had prematurely released 6 convicts in the Rajiv Gandhi assassination case. And earlier in May 2022, it had discharged another convict named prematurely, which brightened the case perhaps for these convicts. Now, to discuss the development, I'm joined by Mr. Karthikeyan, a distinguished police officer, now retired, who investigated Rajiv Gandhi assassination case. He was chief of SIT, a special investigation team that probed the case. Now, thanks for agreeing for speaking to the federal. In May 2022, when the prematurely order came, that time you had remarked that the judgment was on, I quote, expected lines. That was your observation then. Now, when you see 6 others have been released in the same case, what's your comment now?
I have no comments. That was expected.
Are you saying now that what you expected earlier in May, it's on the same expected lines what has happened now in November as well?
I respect the verdict of the Supreme Court. I have spoken on the subject for hundreds, thousands of hours to the media, both print media, electronic media, and I am tired of the whole thing. I was given a task request by the government of India to take it up when nobody was willing in Delhi, and they said it may remain a mystery like Kennedy assassination. It was a blind case. Took it up, lot of challenge. We had gone through a lot of difficulties, challenges, and my officers also a lot of tension. And out of the 130 crore people, why should we pick up these people unless there is direct evidence on them? So that was held by the trial court, but years together. Hundreds of witnesses were examined, thousands of documents were seen, material objects, all certified by the forensic science also. And then the matter was heard by the Honorable Supreme Court. 3 judges, senior judges, heard it for 3 long months. They gave a verdict, and that has been applauded all over the world. Political assassinations are never detected.
Never detected.
And never taken to the court.
Yes.
This is the first such case of an assassination of a world-class leader by a human bomb. And not only detected, it went to the court. A formal hearing was there. Accused were given all opportunities. They were defended by a battery of lawyers. All that. That is why the Interpol invited me to address a conference of top police officers in Lyon, in France, where we explained the whole thing, and they called it a model investigation, and the Supreme Court also has praised it, applauded. Hundreds of editorials have been written. So
right.
As I mentioned to you,
yes, it's a model case, as you yourself said, and you had put a couple of conditions before you started the investigation. One of them was that you should be given a complete freedom, political freedom. The second one was that you are not going to do anything which is going to be third degree or any. I think you kept that word.
there is no question of giving political freedom. It's my right. I said nobody shall interfere. I don't have to, but I made it a condition. I said no political interference. And that was accepted. And I didn't allow. A lot of attempts were made by every political party against each other, and within the parties also against each other. I said from crime to the criminal, only by the base of evidence. That's why we could protect the integrity of the investigation. Otherwise, I had more problem dealing with these political interferences than even with the terrorists.
I think you also mentioned that you had to go through Vipassana and other things.
Yeah, because there's a lot of to stand up to all these things, defend my officers, and it was not easy. So we need to go to the divine. Nobody was with me beyond a point. Everybody looked after their own interests. I had to defend my officers, dealing with it, and then yes, I did. I did go to Kailas Mansarovar for a month. At that time, I had to take the permission of the Prime Minister because, dealing with this case, they will not allow me to go. At that time, all the documents had to be translated into Tamil. That took about 2 months. I came, also Vipassana meditation. They gave me inner strength. I had to go through a lot of challenges. My job was to investigate who killed Rajiv Gandhi. how, why. That I had to do it. Beyond that, regard the quantum of punishment, whether they should be executed or not, whether they should be released or not, you should ask the question of the judiciary, parliament, and the governments of the day.
I'm also asking you this question that you have been earlier a lawyer and then a police officer.
Yes.
And then not an ordinary police officer, as someone who is distinguished and has actually cracked a case which you yourself say that has not been done. It's a busy. So obviously I'm going beyond that. I mean, as a police officer, you also would know that deterrent should be there. But was this judgment a deterrent enough?
Few decades ago, murder, if somebody commits a murder, murder is the punishment. Death for death. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. That was there all over the world. But thereafter, the human rights, discourse started. They said if somebody has done out of stupidity or anger because of circumstances, anger, they've done it something, and why take the life of the person who has got the right? Then half the countries abolished death sentence, but most of the countries still define. Even in India, perhaps, but for the terrorist attacks, 27, all this, the death sentence might have gone. But whether death sentence should be there or not should be decided by the society. Society, you can't go to a referendum to 120 crore people. So the parliamentarians are supposed to represent the will of the people. So that is why the parliament should have taken it up, debated, and come to a decision whether death sentence should be there or not. If it is not there, in what cases death sentence should be given? Okay, if it is for life, what should be the life? It used to be 7 years, 14 years and all that now. Whether life means end of the life, there was an ambiguity. There is ambiguity in the law, which the parliament failed to deal with it. So ultimately, the Supreme Court had to give a verdict, and they have given the verdict.
So, okay, you're saying both in the case. In this case, of course, the court has actually, given one relief by reducing it from death sentence to life. But then, that's why I asked you the next question. After life, should it be life as defined 7 years, 14 years, or it should have been till the end of life? That's why I asked you this question.
It is for the nation to decide how serious they consider terrorism. If they think terrorism is only like any other offences, it's okay. If really seriously they want to deal with terrorism, so they should make the laws very stringent.
The other thing which I want to ask you is, you earlier said during discharge of Pererivalan, nowhere in the judgment that time they said that they were innocent. That point was there. They never said. The judges and the...
Whoever was released also, some people earlier, they said they are guilty of lesser offences than terrorism. So they are already in jail for 10 years and they are released. Even all these releases, nobody claimed innocence, and the Supreme Court, 3 judges have just confirmed their guilt. So there's no question of nobody pleading their innocence and all. They say they have been there for a long time, so they suffered enough. That is the reason they are given. That's all. They have not said that they're innocent, so we are releasing them. No.
Okay, probably that's probably weighed in their mind, because when the final order was passed, even in November 11, I don't think there was any representation.
No, they only said they have been there for 31 years. Yeah.
Yeah, there was no other mention of any other thing except that during their course of...
They behaved well.
They behaved well, and all those details were there.
See, as I told you, Mr. Srinivasan, from the beginning, out of 130 crore people, why should we pick on these people? Because there is evidence.
Exactly.
Crime to the criminal. Involvement is proved. It's a conspiracy. Not necessarily every one of them have, exploded. Conspiracy, a set of people together, either before the offence or after the offence, preparation of the offence, or, that is the law and conspiracy. According to law and conspiracy, and according to the evidence we had collected, the Supreme Court was convinced, yes, they were rightly charged, punished. Now, the discussion is about the quantum of punishment.
Right.
The whole discussion about the punishment.
Mm.
Death sentence should have been there, or life imprisonment means should they be released prematurely and all that. So that is a matter. This ambiguity was there from the beginning.
Mm.
It is for the governments of the day, it is the parliament of the day to have filled up this ambiguity. They did not.
Mm.
And the Supreme Court was asked to take, they have to give a decision.
Right.
So they took the decision.
Mm.
So I respect the verdict of the Supreme Court.
Right. One final
Yes.
question. I will end with that. So, with as you said that you have faced hundreds of interviews and you have seen it over the years, and many things would have played on your mind. Now, it seems to have almost reached a conclusion. Is there any closure in your mind to this case now?
My mind, the closer was after the Supreme Court verdict. Because on the Supreme Court also,
the first one.
I was in the National Human Rights Commission,
Mm.
but on the request of the government, I assisted the government lawyers, clarification, all that. Supreme Court verdict came. I was not prepared to accept a verdict. It is not a terrorist offense. Law is concerned. I'm not about the punishment. Who are these people? I have nothing to do with them. I have no personal enmity against any of them. I thought the law, if it is not a killing of a former prime minister for what he thought was in the interest of the nation, he was killed. His body was beyond recognition.
Right.
17 others died. 9 of them were policemen. They have nothing to do with the Sri Lankan issue at all. And Muhammad Iqbal, the superintendent of police, died on his birthday.
Mm.
That's a different story. All the 17 people, no sympathy for them.
Mm.
They did not do any crime. Nobody speaks about them. There are many of them who are in distress. That is the concern the nation shows towards the victims of these people. The nation and the governments. So when the Supreme Court said it's not they upheld my investigation, praised me, very rarely it's done, but they said it's not yet under Tada. My only question was not the punishment, how many people are sentenced, life or death is not, it's the concern of the court. We have made our submissions. But if this is not considered a terrorist offense, killing of a former prime minister, body was beyond recognition, history of the country changed forever, elections are postponed. I said, if the Supreme Court says it is not a terrorist offense, what else is going to be a terrorist offense in this country?
Mm.
So I strongly opposed it. So at my instance, a review petition was filed by the Attorney General, Ms. Soli Sarabji. Review petition was argued for a long time. Well, court in its wisdom, they said, no, what we have done is the right thing. That ended my job. My interest in the case stopped there.
Thank you, Mr. Karthikeyan.
Thank you.
Speaking to us.
Thank you.
Subscribe to the Federal's YouTube page for more news and updates.